What's going on today, guys? Today we're going to be speaking about paradox bearded dragons and if and how you can make them. But first, let's get this disclaimer out of the way. Paradox, a seemingly absurd or self-contradictory statement or proposition that when investigated or explained may prove to be well-founded or true. Okay, so when people speak about paradox bearded dragons, they call it paradox because say you breed a you make a trans dragon, all the babies come out looking the same, and then you have one, it sheds out and then it turns maybe purple on the leg or something like that. It's not supposed to be that way, so they call it paradox, and they can't explain it. Nobody really knows how a paradox is made, and it's not being reproduced like any other genetics can be found. These dragons here are not paradox by bearded dragon definitions, but by definition it is. These are zeros, but they have a patch on their back. They don't look the way they should look. So these are technically paradox, but the term that we use in bearded dragons is like a morph. But the morph, any morph that you create, say hypo, trans, whiplet, zero, all those can be predicted when they're gonna come out. All the paradox dragons that have been made so far has not been able to be reproduced on a timely manner. Like they can't say when it's gonna come, how many gonna come, or anything like that. So there's no data to say for sure when a paradox is gonna pop up. So as of it stands right now, it's not a recessive or a dominant gene or anything like that. It's just something that happens randomly. Similar to these dragons. These dragons are considered zeros with translucent patching, versus if it was a regular dragon, it'd be like a paradox because those patches would be purple or anything like that. Just like I said, like true definition of paradox is something that's supposed to be one way, but it looks a different way. A paradox. But I have talked to a guy named Wayne Robinson from Venom Dragons. He had a theory on what's making the paradox, and he did make a couple of them. I think maybe 4 or 5 of them. And his theory was to breed white hypo, trans, silverback, and combine all of them into one dragon, and some of those will become purple. But even though he made a couple of them, he couldn't say that this one and this one is gonna make this for sure. But his theory was the white hypo, translucent, and silverback. I can agree with him with translucent being a definite gene in the beginning as to dragons that's turn paradox. The original paradox, most of the paradox will be associated with the trans gene, but as of recent, a couple of people have been producing them without the trans gene. But what those dragons did have was a lot of bars like this dragon here, and then they would be sometimes they'd be head trans, but if there wasn't, it just had a heavy like a tiger gene in them. Like these dragons here, like they're breeding heavy on the tiger gene, which is the barring, the extreme barring on the back, and then eventually that barring start going on the legs and stuff like that, and it's pretty much take over the body. like over at Kids and Dragons. I think that's the case with theirs. A lot of theirs are they have a lot of strong tiger genes over there, and you can see they produce a lot of paradox as well. But here are some white dragons that I produced, and they originally came from possible silverback parents and stuff like that. And my my theory is I think that if you it's similar to what Wayne thought as far as the adding trans to the white, because here is a polar, and you can see the purples and stuff inside of this dragon. And here I'm gonna show some more, and it's three different ones. They all pretty much the same genes, but one of them you can see that's almost purple compared to the other ones. But when it grew, it just grew out of it. See the one in the middle here? That's just a polar. The one on the right is a hypo, white hypo, and the one on the far left is also a polar. But the one in the middle looked like it was gonna go purple for sure. But it eventually just grew out of it. But I think if you concentrate on those genes, you can eventually luck up and get one. Because I still believe it's all up to luck. Because you can't put like 1 and 2 make 3 type thing with paradox. And here's a group of my polars that I produce. And I can kind of get the sense that these will turn purple. Even straight out of the egg, as you can see here, they look purple. So if I was gonna like hunt for paradox again, I will go back to whites and probably try with Wayne's theory. So I did buy a dragon from Wayne back in the day, but to me, we have to go back to the definition of paradox. A seemingly absurd or self-contradictory statement or proposition that, when investigated or explained, may prove to be well-founded or true. And here is my male that I bought from Wayne. And this was from 2 popular paradox at the time, Raz and Hanu. I named this guy Barney. And that pairing was trans to trans, which is a lot of people now know that you shouldn't do. But a lot of people was hunting for the paradox gene, so they was doing trans to trans, and that could contribute to some of the paradox that you see. But this guy died at 1 year old. I got one breeding out of him, and then he just died out of the blue. Was perfectly healthy the day before, eating fine, and then he died the next day. But this guy started off like a dark orange. You could see like purple bars on him, and as he grew, he lightened up. As you can see here, you can see like the purple bars on him, and even his legs seemed like they were turning purple a little bit. I named him Barney in expectation that he's gonna turn purple because both of his parents were purple paradox. But if you look close on his legs here, you can see a little bit of purple hint on there. But it never went all the way through. He ended up turning mostly orange as an adult. But when I first got him, he was growing fine and everything like that. So I wasn't worried about trans to trans because he was growing fine when I first got him. And then one day he was fine, and then the next day I lift up, because he was hiding under the newspaper, I lift up the newspaper and he was just stiff. But this is what his final colors is looking like, pretty much all orange, no purple anywhere. So even though that pairing was paradox to paradox, that gives me a good idea that the paradox is actually something that can be explained. Or it's not like I said, it's not like one, take this one, and make these. You can't do that with Paradox. But I hope you guys learned something in this video. I thank you guys for watching. Subscribe, hit the like button, and this was answering a comment from my last video. Have a good one, guys.